Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Movie Crusaders. My name's Sean Wasserkrug, and today we're going to be reviewing the latest Disney live-action adaptation, Disney's Cruella. Now, most people will know Cruella obviously is one of probably the most villainous characters in the Disney animated film franchises, from 101 Dalmatians, where she literally wants to kill all these Dalmatian puppies to turn into a fur coat. We got to see her not only in animated, we got to see her in live action during the 90s as Glenn Close playing her. But this time around, we're getting a origin story played by Emma Stone, who I'm actually a big fan of. I love Emma Stone and almost everything that she's in. But yeah, I mean, going into this film, I saw the trailer, and the first thing that came to mind was Devil Wears Prada meets the Joker Disney version. And frankly, I'm not too far off base when it comes to the actual film itself. But I went in with an open mind. I heard good things. I heard bad things. So I kind of just went in with an open mindset just to see what was going to happen. The cast, looks really solid in the film. So in going into it, obviously Emma Stone as Estella / Cruella in this film. Emma Stone does a fantastic job as Cruella. She clearly has done her homework, trying to do her best version of this kind of character. If there is a negative to Emma Stone in this film, she does her kind of goofy Emma Stone faces, which I adore. I love her goofy little faces that she does in movies. In this film, they kind of felt out of place. They kind of didn't feel like a part of the movie I was watching. Especially at certain moments, she would do the weird kind of Emma Stone face, which, like I said, I normally like. It just didn't work for me really well in this film. It's not too bad, but definitely in the first half of the film, she does it quite a bit. Once she starts going into the thick of the story, she kind of steers away from that and kind of plays everything pretty much straight for the most part. But for the most part, Emma Stone does a great job as Estella / Cruella. Emma Thompson as the Baroness, or AKA the Meryl Streep of Devil Wears Prada to an 11 character. Emma Thompson, fantastic actress. She does a fantastic job in the film as well. She's great at making you want to hate her, and as the film goes on, it just keeps building and building and building. A standout for me that I wasn't prepared to like as much is Joel Fry as Jasper. I know Joel Fry. I think the only thing I've really seen Joel Fry in was Game of Thrones. He was in a few episodes of that. But outside of that, I didn't really know the actor that well, but I actually really enjoyed his performance in this film. Very well acted for him. Definitely something for me to keep an eye on him now in the future. Paul Walter Hauser, who I'm kind of off and on depending on the film. Actually loved him as Horace in this film. He's funny, and his comedic timing in this film I think works actually really, really well. John McCree as Artie. He's got a few scenes in the film, but I actually think he's a welcome addition to the cast when he does show up. Kavan Novak plays Roger. For people who know the 101 Dalmatians storyline, you should know who Roger is. I love that actor from What We Do in the Shadows. So seeing him pop up made me really, really excited. He doesn't really have a whole lot to do in the film, but just seeing him was enough for me to get excited because I love him on the TV show. So seeing him in a movie always is a plus for me. The only other real big standout that really stood out to me, Mark Strong. I love Mark Strong. Every time he's on screen, I get ecstatic because he's one of my favorite actors working today. I was going to basically say he was completely underutilized in this film because he's barely used for most of the film. But by the time we get to the third act, his character really starts to kind of unravel, and we start to see more of his story. And so his character's appearances start to serve a purpose to the overall story. I was actually getting more annoyed every time I saw him at the beginning of the film because I was like, use Mark Strong. Like, use him. And they weren't using him. And then finally, near the end of the film, they finally kind of gave him some not exposition. I mean, he is kind of the exposition dump of the film, but it's Mark Strong doing it, so I was totally okay with it. The main thing, I mean, there are a few things. I have a lot of thoughts on this. Like I said, let's go with the good stuff first. I really had a fun time watching Cruella. I enjoyed it for the most part. It is 2 hours and 16 minutes. It's probably about 25 minutes too long. It's a big origin story, so they got to tell you about her childhood and how she grew up, and then kind of the crux of how she became Cruella. And for the most part, it's incredibly stylized. Sometimes maybe a little too far, but it's enjoyable to watch. It looks good. Every shot in this film looks fantastic, especially the costumes. I wouldn't be surprised if this film was nominated for Oscars by the end of the year, just because of how many outlandish costumes and designs they choose to do in this film. Comedic tones, there's some great little funny moments here and there. There are some dogs in the film that are hilarious. I love the dogs in this movie, mainly the little one. I think it's Wink, I think was his name. He's a dog with an eye patch. Hilarious. I love that dog. I could watch a whole movie with just that dog in it. And it's a good, well-developed story for Emma Stone's version of Cruella. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit when I say Emma Stone's version of Cruella. This story is, like I said, it's well developed. And just when I thought, like, as I was watching it, I started to kind of come up with things that I wasn't liking about the story. Like, well, that makes no sense. Or why would that happen? That just seems so far-fetched. And then, 20, 30 minutes later, it all makes sense. There was at least 3 or 4 times in this film, in the beginning parts, I was starting to go, I don't like that. That makes no sense to me. There's no point to that, or that was a little too far. And then the story kind of comes around on it, and it all kind of plausibly makes sense to the point where it's like, okay, I can't really argue that fact anymore. I can't really negate that fact. It's actually pretty thought out. I actually can't have anything negative to say about it. Now, when it comes to negatives about the film, first off, once again, it's about 25 minutes too long. They take a little too long to kind of do the second act. I felt like went a little too long because they kind of were starting to beat everything kind of in like a dead horse a little bit. On a certain kind of storyline that they were doing, basically the creation of Cruella, basically in the film. Here's my main problem with the film, and this is not just Cruella. This is all villain origin stories. The Cruella we get is not by the end of the film is not the Cruella we see in 101 Dalmatians. This Cruella loves dogs. She's around dogs pretty much the entire dang film, and she loves them throughout the entire dang film, to the point where it's like, I don't see where she became this person who wanted to kill 100 puppies and make them into a fur coat. They tease certain elements in the film that makes you think it's going to go that route, but then they completely negate it, and they humanize Cruella in the film to the point where it's like, by the end of the film, she's like a non-murderous version of Harley Quinn. She can do bad things, but deep down she's a good person. So it's hard to believe that by the time the film ends, that she ends up becoming this character that we know from the animated film and even the 90s live action film. I can't, for the 2 hours and 16 minutes I watched this film, there is no way I can believe that Emma Stone's as Cruella would ever want to kill a bunch of Dalmatian puppies and make them into her fur coat. I like Emma Stone's Cruella. She's an enjoyable character throughout the film, but never in this film do I ever see her becoming that character that we end up seeing that is one of the greatest villains in Disney history. And that's the same thing probably you have with like Maleficent. They completely humanize Maleficent to the point where she's not looked at as a villain anymore, but she's a villain in the animated film. Same thing goes with Darth Vader when they did the same thing with Anakin Skywalker, and even Joker in Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. He was a character, he's a guy who just got pushed a little too far. He kind of went over the deep end. I'm not putting him in the same range as Emma Stone's Cruella, but that is the main problem when it comes to this film. If you can remove your history of Cruella de Vil, if you can remove the animated film from your brain, if you can remove the Glenn Close 1990s 101 Dalmatians films from your brain and just watch this as a one-time off film and you don't know the future past this film, you can enjoy the Cruella character. You can enjoy the ride it takes you on and everything like that. It's just that that thing just sticks in the back of your head going, I can't see where she becomes this person that we know from the past films. And I still, right now, I'm 24 hours removed from watching this film. I still can't see that character because every moment where they have a chance to push her to that limit or push her over that edge, she pulls back and shows that she's just not that evil of a person. It's like she wants to be bad, but deep down she's not a bad person. So I have a hard time believing what she ends up becoming. And then also the mid-credit scene, which basically opens the door for the 100 Dalmatians movie. That also, I have a hard time figuring out, based off of how that mid-credit scene ends. Once again, how does she become the Cruella that we know from the cartoon and the animated film? I know I went a little bit too long on that, but it was one of the things that really was just kind of irking me throughout the film, as we never saw her go full-on Breaking Bad kind of thing. And I forgot to turn off my phone. I just got off work, so I'm kind of rushing through this. But anyway, the only other real nitpick I had outside of the length and that is that the characters of Jasper, Horace, and Cruella, they're basically grifters. They're small-time thieves and stuff like that. But the way this movie portrays these three characters, they could put Danny Ocean to shame. They are mastermind criminals. They can get away with everything. Everything's super well thought out. They never get caught. They never get caught. They never get chased by police. The police don't know how to find them. The police don't know how to track them down. These are world-class criminals, the way the movie portrays them, which makes it kind of, everything they're doing in this film just feel kind of, not uneventful. That's the wrong word I want to use. It's just like, y'all could be doing so much more. Because with your guys' capabilities and what we've seen you do in this film, y'all could be going for way, way bigger fish than what you're doing right now. And there's just always a backup plan upon a backup plan. Everything is just way too clean for these characters in this film, which makes it a little kind of unbelievable, because no matter what, it's kind of like watching a Superman film. No matter what's going to happen to these characters, they are way too clever and have way too many backup plans to ever feel like they're in immediate danger with what's going on in the film, which is kind of a little bit annoying, because if these guys were so good at what they're doing, they'd be doing a lot worse things or be getting away with a lot worse things than what they were doing in the film. Like I said, it's a nitpick, but by the end of the film, you're just like, really? They had all this planned out? Really? They thought this out? It's like, okay, cool. Nonetheless, nitpicks aside, Cruella is easily one of the best Disney live-action adaptation films. I'm not saying that it is probably one of the best storytelling of an animated film, because like I said, I can't see this character equal to the character of the animated film, because she's just too much of a villain. She wants to kill puppies to make a coat. How can you get that evil? We don't get that in this film, unless they make sequels. And they made a Maleficent sequel, so who knows what's going to happen there. But nonetheless, just this movie, and take everything else away from it, Cruella is a fun ride that you guys will enjoy for the most part, if you can remove that previous stuff from your headspace. So overall, if you guys like any of these actors or actresses, like I said, Emma Stone, Emma Thompson, they're fantastic. Joel Fry, Paul Walter Hauser, John McCree, definitely should check this out. Go into a theater, Disney Plus's $30 deal, what have you. It's definitely worth checking out. It's one of the better films of the year, at least in my eyes. But that's my personal opinion. Y'all have your personal opinions as well. Going to my overall score, I'm going to give it an 84%, which is like a B+ grade for me. It is definitely something I wouldn't say no to rewatching again in the future. It's not my favorite Disney live action anime or adaptation, but it's definitely up there in probably the top 5 of one of the better ones that are put together from Disney. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on the Movie Crusaders. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, coming this Friday, we've got The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. That'll be out some point this weekend. The review will. because I work and it's harder and harder to get these reviews out as fast as I would like. But that's going to be on HBO Max and in theaters, so be on the lookout for that review. And of course, this Friday, as always, the Weekend Crusaders, myself, Brian Michaels, will be going over 5 movies that come out this weekend in movie history. So be on the lookout for that. We hope you guys check that out and enjoy it. Until next time, in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.